So this is a garden that I have been working on. This is the second season. The first season was about clearing all of the invasive species. There was multiflora rose in here, bittersweet. It was pretty much just filled with a lot of very tough vines and prickly stems. And what's left in here, we have a peony at the back. This is goldenrod, one of our native goldenrod species, so I am going to design around that. A lot of open area. My goal is going to be to add plants in here for pollinators and insects in general. Back here we have our native Virginia creeper, turns a gorgeous burgundy with berries on it in the fall. I won't let it totally take over this wall. The wall is very beautiful, but I'm going to leave it and see what happens. And then over here we have balloon flower at the back. There's penstemon and more goldenrod mixed in with this pretty geranium. Look at the goldenrod. So once again, if you have native plants already, design around them, leave them. This goldenrod is going to be gorgeous in the late August, early September with that beautiful golden color. It'll get tall. It's going to be very lovely. And then here we have a very, very old Russian sage. Pollinators love that. I often, when it's in bloom, see a lot of various bees on it. The soil is not amended very much. I work with the native soil as much as possible and site the plants, whether it be an ornamental plant, a native plant, to that site. I did put a little bit of organic compost on top. I had a lot of holes in the garden from removing plants, but it's nice to add a little organic compost when planting because it really does help with water retention. But otherwise, I work mostly, at least like 90% with the native soil. So I think this garden is ready now for planting. Okay, so I have laid out all of the pots, and spacing wise, I do follow the spacing information on the tag for the plant, but sometimes I admit I might plant them a wee bit closer, maybe by an inch or two, just so that the garden fills in. Just want you to see their plants are all laid out for planting. I will discuss the plants in the final video, what I have chosen, but just want you to see the next step. I have them placed. I like how it looks, and I'll give you a better view. There, see? And I'm liking how the colors are coming along. We have pinks, we have bluey purples, we have, of course, the plants that were already in the garden. We have silver foliage, white flowers. We have different hues of pinks, okay? Yellows, different bluey purples. Foliage is different shaped, different colors. This is a darker foliage, okay? And then, of course, very important, any garden for pollinators is to make sure you find native grasses. Now it's time to start planting. So before planting, I watered these plants very well the day before while they were still in their containers to make sure those roots are nice and hydrated, because it's a big deal to get planted for a plant. They have to establish to the soil, and we want their roots to start reaching out into the soil. So it's a process for them. I add a little organic mycorrhizae into the planting hole and do follow the directions for the planting hole. Usually twice the size of the root ball is great. I plant slightly above that also, so that the top of the roots are just a little bit above the soil line, because I am going to add some type of mulch. whether it be living mulch, such as a plant, or leaf mold, or wood chips, whatever mulch I choose, I do want those roots to be slightly elevated. And the next thing I do is I water. I water that plant, water the roots well while it's in the hole before I cover in the soil. And then I let that sit and soak up, and then I fill the soil in around the plant. So I know that this plant at the time of planting was watered really, really well. Okay? And I know that it has a little bit of a root stimulator in it. So this plant is ready to grow. So here is the planted garden. I have a mix of what I hope are going to be wonderful pollinator plants and also welcome insects and birds into this garden. We have native grasses. This is our native switchgrass. And yarrow have a gorgeous white flower. This is hypericum, or St. John's wort. That'll be covered in yellow blooms. And coreopsis. Look at that, bright gold. And then there's catmint, nepeta, liatris, that will be blooming. Along with, in the back, there'll be these tall rudbeckia and penstemon with that special different colored foliage. As I mentioned, it's nice to mix the foliage colors. More St. John's wort. This is goldenrod that is grown from native seed by a local arboretum. Whenever you can find those kinds of plants in your area, it's a massive bonus. You know they are right from your region. Geranium. This is lady's mantle with tiny yellow flowers, and salvia. Here we have bee balm. That's going to have a magenta flower. And in the back, I have saved space for Joe Pye, our very, very special, wonderful native Joe Pye that will get very tall at the back. And then moving along, Pearly Everlasting, also grown from native seed and host plant to American lady butterflies. More lady's mantle. And of course, the geranium I spoke of, or excuse me, the goldenrod I spoke of earlier. Here we have catmint again, and scabiosa with that gorgeous pink color. And our Russian sage at the end with lady's mantle and penstemon, not yet in bloom, but I love that color of foliage. So what I've done is I have chosen plants of varying heights, varying colors. The flowers are different colors, and the flowers are different shapes. Some are wide open, some are spikes like this with a lot of tiny flowers. These are great wide open flowers, nice landing pads for butterflies. The Joe Pye, of course, well, you'll see that when it's in bloom. It's going to get nice and tall with many, many little flowers. So there's a lot of variety here for pollinators. And as the season progresses, we'll start to see more in bloom and start to see this garden really come alive.